Welcome back to Trucking Story. This is Bob Trucker back with you again. If you recall, last time we ran a load from Flagstaff, and this is episode 3. So let's take a look at the job market and see what options we have. We put our points into long distance last time, so we should be able to go up to 400 miles. So as you can see, the first job we've got there from Cascadian Farms to General Mills. And again, as a reminder, I am using some mods that put real-world locations into the game. But we can run from Holbrook, Arizona, which is where our drop-off point was before, all the way over to New Mexico. Or we can go from Vegas down to Yuma. Again, we're going to try to maximize everything we can, so just make it simple. We're going to take this job and we'll run that today. So here we go. Taking a little longer to load than normal, so apologize for that. There we go. So, taking a load of dry milk. I assume that's like condensed milk, but and again, we'll be obviously heading east across the desert, so scenery won't be too exciting on this trip, but that is the reality of trucking. At times, you go where the job is. And sometimes you'll get this kind of a load depending on what's going on. I've noticed this a few times. It takes a little extra time for it to load up, and then eventually everything will drop in and we'll be able to start. So not the greatest video, but as we do these in real time, that's sometimes what happens. So we'll take what we can get. There we go. Oh, and we've got some rain. So first time we've had rain here. So just go through our options on the dash. No GPS display. So this is a Mack truck, it looks like. The mirror's a little far on the side, so I will turn on both of the mirrors up front so that I can keep looking out the front window. Turn on the running lights, and we will head out. So take a quick look at what we got. So a tarp load, it looks like, on a tarp trailer to get that dry milk over to the far end of New Mexico.
Turn left.
Again, 400 miles. Obviously it's a little longer than the runs we were doing at 250. It's kind of hard to see with that bush, just making sure we're clear. Been pretty lucky in this series so far that I haven't run into anything. We'll get the wipers on here. Not raining that hard, so we'll just put them on interval. Just like in a regular truck, you'll get to have some settings of interval, low and high. So depending on the difficulty or the speed of the rain, you'll go ahead and obviously make the correct selection there.
Turn left.
Alright, so I'm assuming we're going to be heading over to the interstate, and yeah, there we go. We can see that on the route advisor, and we'll be jumping on there pretty soon, so that'll make things a little easier. And it looks like we can drive into the night, and more than likely I'll just take the delivery and deliver it when we can. On longer drives, sometimes I tend to...
Turn right.
Whoa. My brakes didn't work very well there. So, apologize for that. Luckily, it's not my truck, so the repairs aren't on me, but the employer might not be too thrilled if I continue to do that. Alright, get our cruise control up. Looks like the rain's starting to clear away, heading into the welcome to New Mexico. So, starting off on the border, we'll see if we get pulled into the way station right away. Looks like we're going to get a pass. Turn off the wipers so that we don't have to watch that. Get the blinker off. So here we go. Get ourselves up to speed. And it looks like we did get some new mail. I saw that pop up. So the first few levels as you go through the game, it does give you emails pretty quickly, but then you really don't see any more after that. So if that's something that you're not that excited about, just be aware it's not like a common part of the game that you're always dealing with. Some of the nice things I do find as I, again, drive the different trucks, Max and, again, the long-nosed Kenworth. You can kind of line the truck up with the hood ornament, which helps. Alright, we've got another unlock for Gallop, which, again, as a reminder, will give us the ability to originate loads from this location. It looks like, we've got a Walmart off to the left, we've got a rail depot off to the right, looking at the icons on the route advisor. So definitely gives us a lot of options, which will be great. Namek is a mining location, so there might be some heavier equipment and things like that. Right now we're still dealing with standard deliveries, but pretty soon, as we open up more things, we'll have more and more options for different commodities to haul, so it'll give us more choices as we go along. So I've always found it interesting as you head out. You'd think it's the desert, it'd be pretty flat, but there's still a lot of undulations in the road, which, once again, as you get heavier and heavier loads, gets a little bit more challenging to deal with, because even the small ups and downs will slow down a big rig when you're hauling 80, 100,000 pounds or more, when you're doing some of the heavier loads. But this one I think is pretty light. 41,000 pounds of dry milk, so not too bad. So we're not going to be impacted too heavily. And again, keeping an eye out on the speed. It's popped up to 75, so we can go a little quicker. Whoops, looks like I am misreading my cruise setting somewhere. Gotta be careful here, I'm not quite sure. Oh, I see it now. It's always interesting when you're getting in a new truck and you haven't been in it in a while. I just lost sight of where the cruise setting was, so there we go. Now we're set properly. Luckily we didn't get pulled over or flagged for speeding. So it's a nice Monday evening as this sun's starting to set. Sounds like... Oh, I guess I did have the blinker on to the right. I didn't realize it was under my route advisor. I kept hearing it, but I wasn't seeing it, so it was giving me some confusion. So yeah, you can see there we got the truck all the way down to 58, 57, because we're still going up a hill a little bit. So just the challenges that you have in a truck versus a car if you're not used to driving trucks. So yeah, as we're driving along, I think, share a little bit of how I got into American Truck Simulator and why I got pulled in so that you understand what is exciting about it for me. I actually work within the transportation industry supporting trucking companies, so I'm not working at a trucking company, but in my normal job I work at an organization where we support trucking companies. So had heard about the game through people at work. Obviously, there are a lot of actual truck drivers that play it as well. It's one of those things I just hadn't taken a peek at, and ended up at one point saying, let me check it out. And I do enjoy driving. I do enjoy simulations, so definitely got sucked in pretty quickly. The other thing I've not talked about in the earlier episodes that we've had, I do have every available add-on that they have at this point. So SCS offers multiple states. As I mentioned, I know I mentioned in the first series that I've got all 9 states, waiting for Wyoming to come out shortly, hopefully in the next few months. I know they've been putting out some announcements. And then there's also packs for different kinds of cargo. So there's a forest pack, there's the special transport pack, which we got the email for last time. Trying to think what else there were. I think there's 1 or 2 others that add different capabilities into the game. So as far as what you'll see if you were to just buy the base game without any add-on, of the add-on modules, obviously the additional states are easy to determine that you wouldn't have those, but there's also different types of cargo and different types of hauling that you're then not able to do. Because I think there's a heavy cargo pack as well, that will include things like big machinery, bulldozers, cranes, things like that. And the states are obviously a little bit more, because building out the map and putting that information in certainly takes a lot of effort. The cargo packs tend to be a lot less expensive, but I happened to get it off Steam when things were heavily discounted over the holidays, and so it really didn't cost me that much. But I think all in it was around $50. But I think without the discounts, I think the game itself is $20, and the map packs tend to be about $12. So you're probably well over $100, maybe approaching $200 if you're buying them off of Steam when they're not discounted in any way. But even with that, depending on what you enjoy and so forth, I think they've definitely put a lot of detail into it, and certainly worth it compared to much more expensive games for consoles and things like that, that don't give you as much capability and as much replayability. Because I've at this point done several profiles and spent many hundreds of hours going through the game, and still find it as fascinating as when I started. The good thing is, obviously, I've learned a lot of tricks and things to do, and as I hit things as we go along through the series, as I record more drives, as I end up doing things, I'll call out the quirks that I've found in the game. And so sometimes there's definitely unsafe driving that will be done, just to avoid having to slow down and have the ramp up of the truck. And that's usually on entrance and exit ramps that really the AI has some problems, but it's easier to see when it happens than to try to explain. So when we come up upon it, we'll talk about it then, whenever that happens. Just noticed my fuel gauge. It's pretty low. I'm wondering if the guy gave me a truck that had enough fuel to get all the way to the end, or if we're going to have to pull off and get fuel. I guess we'll give it a shot and we'll see. So usually you're able to go 100, 150 miles or so once you start getting the fuel warning. And given that this was just a 400-mile ride, we've been going for probably 10 actual minutes now, so we're probably close to 150, 200 miles down the road. So hopefully we'll be okay. If not, we'll have our first refueling stop. Whoop, I did have my lights on. Sometimes it's hard to tell. I have gone ahead and tried the beta for the new 1.4 that's coming out, and I did notice, you can see here on the entrance ramp, the trucks kind of stopped. Stuff like that happens, and then the AI cars in the next lane will suddenly slam on their brakes, so you've got to be careful and pay attention compared to normal driving, where sometimes the cars or the traffic will behave in ways that you don't expect. And there's definitely times I've nearly gotten in accidents or had to dive onto the shoulder and drive where I really shouldn't be to avoid a huge wreck. So what I was starting to say is, I've done a little bit on the beta to just see what's coming, and they've got a new lighting system coming out in the next version. It's much harder to see the dashboard right now and to see the headlights unless it's really dark. So I'm hoping they make changes to that before they release it into general release. But at this point in Twilight, as you can see, it's still sometimes challenging to tell if you have your lights on or if you're dealing with just the general glow from the environment. So, a couple rest areas there. So I'm thinking when we need to be in by 11:35 tomorrow morning, so we could rest if we need to. So if you do stop to rest, you want to get good at doing the calculation, but basically you will sleep for 10 hours. So, basic math, obviously. If we stop now at 8:25 p.m., we'd get going at 6:25 a.m. So you can subtract 2 hours or add 10 hours, whatever works, and how you think it through. So, this speed keeps changing from 65 to 75 constantly on this stretch. It gets a little difficult and annoying to keep up with. But to obviously get there as quick as possible, I always want to try to go as fast as I can, but sometimes I don't notice that speed change. Quite a bit of traffic for this late at night on a Monday, getting up to 9 o'clock, but lots of folks out and about. Certainly more traffic than we've seen in the first 2 drives we've done. So usually between 9 and 10 o'clock is when it gets really dark in the game, when you're really not having kind of the twilight. And I know there's been some discussions. Okay, looks like we've got to exit here. So, alright. Luckily we were able to tuck in there. That could have been a lot more disastrous than I would have liked. So what I was talking about was the when does the sun set and so forth, and there's been discussions online that I've certainly seen where people have said, hey, it's still light at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and that is because the game is set during the summer solstice, so the longest day of the year, so that the lighting is kind of set at that point. And my understanding, I don't live out in that general area, but as you get out west, I do understand at that point in time of the year, at 10:30, 11 o'clock, it can still be not quite fully dark. So that is why at 9:15, it's just finally starting to get dark here, and we're obviously not that far west, given that we're heading east into New Mexico here, so we're getting close to the midpoint of the country. So the other thing I'm definitely hopeful for, is, SCS has said as long as there's interest, their intent is to ultimately get all the states into the game. I'm assuming that doesn't mean Alaska and Hawaii, since they're not attached, although it would be pretty cool to go through Canada and get up to Alaska, but not sure if they're going to do that. Obviously we'll see what happens. Right now, kind of the announcements that seem to be out there is they've certainly officially announced Wyoming, and then it appears that Texas is going to be next. So hopefully both of those will come out here in 2021, and we'll have some added areas to haul freight to and from. So let's see, where are we at here? 71 miles. All right, so we're just heading down to Clovis. Looks like we'll be on this road all the way there, and then make our delivery. Yeah, it is a little difficult to, down to 30 here, so pretty crazy. Goes from 60 down to 30 with very little notice other than the reduced speed sign. So sometimes there'll be speed cameras. I mean, again, I've certainly been lucky that I haven't been caught with any violations yet, which is great given that we're still light in the bank, just over $10,000, obviously. So just want to make sure I go the right way here. I think we're going to be turning left.
Keep left, and then turn left.
Yeah, there we go.
Turn left.
Oh, no real light or anything there. That kind of snuck up on me. I don't know if they have a stop sign or not. It doesn't look like it, so I'm glad I didn't pull out. Although wow, he cut them off. But luckily, no accident there. Looks like we're clear. Just make sure we're good from the other end. Alright, so we should be there in a few minutes. As long as I don't have the same challenge of parking as I did last time, we might be pretty close in making this a half-hour video. But I think after this, as the trips get longer, the videos will get longer. But obviously, watching them on YouTube, you can watch them in segments. So, the lengthy ones, once we can run the full length, we'll be getting up around 2 hours. So those will certainly be long videos, but just the nature of the game, and certainly still getting done a lot faster than we would in real time, but definitely very enjoyable. Lots of fun, and certainly relaxing, other than when things that you don't expect happen. I think they do a good job with visibility here. Definitely much harder to see where you're going at night. With the possibility of running out of your headlights. And speaking of running out of things, there was the fuel warning, but at this point we know we're under 50 miles, so no need to look for anything, and likely that we're not going to find any gas station other than just before the drop-off point anyway. It's an interesting rest area tucked away behind that rail fence, but yeah, I think we're just about to Clovis here. Yeah, billboards are also a mod that I have, so like that Coca-Cola billboard, certainly, you know, without that mod, you're gonna have just fictional companies. Oh, I hear a train somewhere. Not sure where. Don't hear it anymore, so maybe it's was going the other way. Alright. No, that's just a billboard, I was gonna say. I think we're coming up on the outskirts of town, although we probably are, given that the speed limit is slowing down. Yeah, there we go. Clovis. So, whoop. Okay, my brakes are... Something is off with my brake setup. I'm gonna have to check that out. So yeah, if you do something like that, you'll notice, you know, they'll put their hazards on for a bit. I backed off of him because if you remain kind of connected, in essence, in the accident that you had, sometimes they don't move, or they take certainly a lot longer to move. So to get them to move quicker, usually just, you know, give them some space, and then the vehicles will depart relatively quickly. So apologize for that mess, but like I said, I'm gonna have to check my brake settings because I think somehow something is off in how I have this configured. So you can't adjust brake sensitivity and so forth in the game. So when things like that, if you do notice things like that, you know, the game does allow you to adjust it. So. It's interesting because it doesn't really function completely differently than I was expecting, but obviously, normally I'm not running into things, so I just need to double check what may be going on there so that we don't continue to have that problem as we go forward with additional runs. Well, luckily we didn't get stopped by any trains this late at night. You'd think, a lot of times out west here they'll run trains late at night to avoid too much difficulty on traffic. Again, whether the game takes advantage of that understanding, probably a bit too detailed in the sim area to be that way, but if we're going for reality in the world, that may certainly something to consider, showing up at 11 o'clock at night.
Get ready to turn right. Turn right.
Yeah. Horse out there in the field enjoying the little bit of grass. Whoops, sorry, sir. Got a little closer than I would have liked, but did not run into him, so again, a result of my not sensitive enough brakes, so definitely coming into things hotter than I would like. Alright, looks like we're gonna deliver to General Mills here, which makes sense. Grab that dry milk, and who knows what they're gonna use it for, but it's not my job, it's just my job to get it here. Alright. Alright, so I think, let's see, do we want to go down this road? I'm a little confused. I think we do, because I think it looks like those docks. Yeah. Again, definitely same problem you'd have as a trucker if you're delivering to an unfamiliar space. Okay, there's our drop-off point right there. So, but yeah, if you're not familiar with the drop-off location, there's definitely challenges that you got to figure out. So I think, yeah, we'll just pull through here and then back it in on the near side, and we'll go from there. It's at least a relatively well-lit area, which is great. There's definitely some drop-off points when you're doing late-night deliveries that you can almost see nothing at, because at certain points, again, just like in the real world, they shut the lights off and then suddenly you're in the dark. I'm kind of trying not to go on their grass, but if I don't, I'm gonna have a bigger problem. So, whoops. While I was adjusting my camera, had a little bit of a problem there. There we go. Start to straighten it out, and we should be good here shortly. Just tweak it a little bit. Start to turn it for the last bit, and there we go. Now we'll start to straighten it out and we'll be good. Alright. Let's see. Let's get paid. At least simpler parking job than last time. Only 40 for trailer maneuvering. But we did get another level, and that is the benefit at this point of continuing to add things to distance. So we'll put our last point in distance, and next time we will start to put our points somewhere else. So I'm just going to go ahead and clear out these upgrades. Take a look at the couple emails we got. So there you go. If somebody owns a truck, they're offering up to $13,700 per job in Flagstaff. And the bank, because we've got some steady earnings, they've now increased us to $500,000, so we can take loans all the way out. So just 12% interest rate if we were doing that. Again, no need to do that, because right now on this trucking story, we're going to continue to just simply be a contractor until we've really unlocked all the truck options in the game, which really is almost up to level 30 or so. And then at that point, maybe we'll take a look at buying a truck, but we won't need to go to the bank to do that. So there we go. So I think we are good here, and thanks for joining me and watching another drive. We'll catch you next time.